And the Defence Secretary Grant Shapps has called for poppy sellers to be fully protected after volunteers look to have disappeared from Britain's busiest railway stations. Staff confirmed there would be no sellers at London Liverpool Street after 500 pro-Palestine protesters staged a sit-in. Volunteers have also not been seen at Victoria or Euston stations. And at Charing Cross, 3 volunteers at a poppy stand saw themselves surrounded by demonstrators. There's also stories about Edinburgh's Waverley Station crowded out over the weekend as well. Let's get the views of Kelvin Mackenzie. Kelvin, let's take a look at the front page of the Sun newspaper today, a paper you used to edit, of course, when it was selling millions of copies. Where have all the poppies gone? Referencing the number of people not selling poppies at the moment for fear of attack. Do you recognise your country anymore, Kelvin?
Well, it's clearly that no amount of police and no amount of soldiers can actually protect the poppy sellers, because the poppy sellers themselves are in fear of what's going to happen to them. And on that basis, they're simply not going to turn up. So for the British Legion and the vital money that is raised through poppies, this is a disaster. But it actually represents something else. I think right now there is a fear in our society about being caught out on the wrong side of a protest, whether it's Just Oil, where an ambulance couldn't get through the other day, or it's you are a Jew and you're in West London on Saturday afternoon. You know, how are you going to feel about that? This is the first time I have ever thought that it would be dangerous to be caught out somewhere on a London Underground station, a mainline station, walking down through Chiswick on a Saturday afternoon. There are a whole series of areas of life which I find very, very uneasy. And for the poppy sellers, it's a disgrace. But there's lots more going on. The idea, for instance, that Braverman can say something pretty straightforward, right? That the police act in one way to one group, but act in a different way to another group, is plain. I mean, the number of times that on GBNews and other stations, they've raised the fact that a police officer took the knee for the Black Lives Matter movement, that kind of thing. And now we're seeing it for another group. She uses the expression, which is the area, it is this expression, which it may well cost her a job, which is that some group, the police are asserting primacy towards, okay? Well, she knows which group that is. That's the group that are going to be out marching on Saturday afternoon. They're going to be coming from all over the country and mainly from one particular community. And this is the first time. You may be able to remember something else. Your panel may be able to remember something else. I can never remember that, where one group acts against, for themselves and for their people, but create a sense of fear towards everybody else. When was the last time that was true? And which group was it that did that? I personally, honestly, I can't remember it. And I find it very, very disturbing. And the poppy sellers, and I salute the Sun for grabbing hold of that, that they manage, when a paper like the Sun puts that on page 1, it represents the beating heart of ordinary people. And ordinary people, I think, especially if you live in London, would feel very uneasy right now.
Indeed, I just wonder, Kelvin, whether the cops are already outnumbered. I wonder whether the authorities have already lost this battle against extremism.
Well, I feel sorry for being a police officer. What must it be like to be a police officer on Saturday? And what will it be like if there is any trouble? What will happen to the Metropolitan Commissioner, right? An enormously clever guy. I heard Sir Tom Windsor, a really clever guy, talking about him, saying what a fantastic politician, what a fantastic policeman he was this morning. Supposing he has made an error. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the leaders of this march, who all, or at least a couple of them, have links in the past to Hamas, which is incredible. I mean, they're an outlawed terrorist group, for God's sake, right? How did they come to be the leader of this march? I hope to God that no police officer is injured. It's difficult. I mean, I could see 150,000 people turning up on Saturday afternoon. It would be the biggest demonstration this country had ever seen, possibly by a factor of 6 or 7, right? And there will be bad guys among them. And the people who suffer, right? The people who suffer are twofold. One, police officers who could be seriously hurt. And the other people who suffer are Jews, right? A massively important small group of people to our country that bring great wealth and great creativity and great community to us, right? What about them? Like, nobody talks about them anymore. Nobody talks, and yet they won't be leaving their homes, will they? You tell me what Jewish families, right, who have any real sense of themselves, why would they leave their homes? What? They can't wear their yarmulkes, they can't wear their skull caps, right? Because if they do, what could happen? What could happen? And this is a serious issue. And the Poppy Day thing is just an example made flesh of the dangers that exist out there on not only on Saturday, but around us all. It's an incredible moment. It's a very serious moment. And I'm very grateful that you allow me enough time to say so.
Well, Kelvin, we're joined at the hip on this one. Your comments reflect very much what I said earlier in my big opinion, and I look forward to catching up soon, Kelvin. More power to you. The former editor of the Sun newspaper, co-founder of TalkSport, Kelvin Mackenzie.